the last man standing, but wait a minute, maybe I do. If you don't mind, I'll start a new line and decide after thinking it through. Go on in front if you're in such a hurry, like heaven ain't waiting for you. I don't want to be the last man standing. On second thought, maybe I do. It's getting hard to watch my pals check out, cuts like a wore-out knife. One thing I learned about running the road is forever don't apply to life. Waylon and Ray and Merle and old Norro live just as fast as me. And I still got a lot of good friends left, and I wonder who the next will be. I don't want to be the last man standing, but wait a minute, maybe I do. If you don't mind, I'll start a new line and decide after thinking it through. Go on in front if you're in such a hurry, like heaven ain't waiting for you. I don't want to be the last man standing. On second thought, maybe I do.
Today's show is sponsored by Farmer Joe's Fresh Market, located at 1401 Southwest Pine Island Road in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. I want to tell you about Farmer Joe's Strawberry Festival. That's going to happen on February 24th from 11 until 2. We'll have fun food deals for the entire family, balloon artists, dunk tank, games, and of course, delicious food and more. Save the date. It's going to be great. Everything you need and more. Lee County's greatest grocery store, Farmer Joe's Fresh Market. I would also like to thank our friends at International Marble, a family-owned and operated business, sales, installation, service, quality you can count on, located in Fort Myers, Florida. Give them a call at 239-878-2200. Tell them that Smoking Joe sent you. We're glad to have Mr. Ford O'Connell, political analyst, multimedia commentator, businessman, attorney. You can find him at FordO'Connell.com, Ford O'Connell on X, and all credible news outlets. I'm Smoking Joe, and we welcome you to Cracker Culture. Ford, we normally open the show with national topics that everyone in America should be informed about. Today, I have a local story that I feel deserves to be addressed before anything else. This story is as embarrassing to me as a Floridian, as well as someone who grew up in Lee County. This is going to expose the undeniable fact that certain people of power will do whatever it takes to protect a corrupt system. I want to say, as an advocate for children in Florida, no one on our team condones the actions of what has transpired. Ford, we spoke about the actions that occurred on Valentine's Day 2023 when Fort Myers High assistant coach texted a message to the team and said, "Happy Valentine's Day," using the N-word, which we all know was very appropriate. He shouldn't have done it, but he did. He was terminated. One family member complained about the N-word from 214 from Coach Alex C., and didn't greet them in the hallway and stated a slur to them. Video showed different. He didn't realize there was video in the hall that recorded that this player actually waved, acknowledged them, and said no insults to the coaches. Birchfield was also, prior to the walkout, disciplining them unnecessarily, far worse than the white players for minor infractions. Birchfield had dinner the night before the walkout with assistant Chappie and Henson. The lineup was changed to purposely leave the two black players off the field, unaware of what was happening. Parents were yelling at the parents of the two black boys as they left. The athletic department terminated the assistant baseball coach, which prompted a Title VI investigation that eventually led to the head coach also being removed from the coaching position. This was then followed by a staged walkout during the April 6th game. Only the two black students were not informed of the staged walkout and caused the forfeiture of the game. What would proceed afterwards seems unbelievable, that the good old boy system in Lee County still thrives within our government. We have Coach Chappie, who is married to Federal Judge Chappelle, is seen in the video walking over to the varsity field to accompany the players for the walkout. And I have a little video of this.
Why don't you just have to now hold the camera because she's walking away?
The two black kids go to bat, the kids walk out.
You quit, but I don't know why you were here. Why are you still here? Why are you still here?
What did Chappie say?
Still here. Why are you still here?
What did Chappie say? It's all right, you guys. It's all right. It's all right, Madrid.
Now, Ford, here's the thing. We obtained those text messages of Coach Chappie with the parents about emailing Jada Langford, and then clearly her email address is in there. And she said, bring as many people as possible to speak up for the coach who was rightfully terminated. Because Coach Chappie is married to Judge Chappelle, who seems to routinely favor the school district in court cases, he was not included in the investigation. The reason for the lawsuit was not because of the N-word being used in a text. It was a toxic environment for the two best players, one being the best batter on the team, Madrid Tucker, who was treated unfairly and caused a lot of frustrations. The coaches had encouraged the parents of the white players to take the sides against the black players in this, and is not acceptable behavior. If you have an adult, an employee of a public institution, partaking in formulating lies and disciplining two black students excessively for similar behavior from white players, there's a problem. No adult should be making false allegations against any student, black or white, but the district refused to find fault with Coach Chappie Birchfield. Chappie married the federal judge who has now recused herself from the case, and she has always sided with the district in several lawsuits. Birchfield, who has many of the old Fort Myers establishment friends, was also not held accountable. Only Coach Henson was found guilty of violations when from this video, he was seen walking out with the players, not caring about the example he was setting for the team or the district. maybe Judge Chipple should not be presiding over any school district cases. And on that note, I want to also add that Alfie Oaks' appeal to the appellate court was denied his day in court by a judge who cited court cases incorrectly to apply dismissing his case, which caused Mr. Oaks to file the appeal correcting the inaccuracies in the judge's decision to dismiss this case. This is the same middle district court where Judge Chappelle presided over as well. She wasn't the judge for Mr. Oaks, but she could maybe possibly have had influence. We don't know, but the dismissal brings a lot of questions, and we support his fight against the establishment. ESPN is going to do a 45-minute documentary on this case. Ford, what do you think about this?
I think that this is the kind of national attention, if ESPN is going to do this, that is bad for Lee County. You don't want to be in this negative light. Look, these are allegations. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it. But it seems that there were a lot of bad players involved in this. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's probably going to take years to unpack. But it just seems, just in general, the text message stuff, the allegations about that is not a civil rights violation. What is a civil rights violation under Title VI is if you treat certain players differently because of their race. If that indeed is the true allegation, and that can be proven in court, this is not a good day for Lee County.
Well, and again, I've talked to several people who's asked me not to even comment on this case. And because they're old school Florida and the alumni that goes with Fort Myers High, they don't want it out. But, they want to protect the coaches. That's just not who I am. If you're wrong, you're wrong. You don't tell something or not tell something because it's not right. It is right that the folks of Lee County know that this is realistically going to involve the whole school board, and including Dr. Bernier, who just was trying to get a job in Omaha, and he didn't get the job. Let's just say that.
Yeah, look, I think unfortunately this is going to be a lot bigger than what these two black kids on the team and whether they're being discriminated against. It's always, there's a saying, Joe. It's always, the cover up is always worse than what they're trying to cover up. And I think that is what could open up a can of worms in Lee County. Hopefully I'm wrong, but something tells me that this goes pretty deep.
Well, me personally, I hope that this gets the investigation into the school board. I've been begging for them to audit them on several things. We have an issue in the school board. We have an issue because at least 3 of the members of the school board and possibly 2 more that are running basically without opposition are Terry Miller strategist candidates. So I have a lot of issue with this school board and them letting it get to this extent.
Well, exactly. This didn't just happen overnight. This had to take months and years of sort of good old boy working together, and eventually you can't have that. That system cannot survive in today's day and age, and it's got to be exposed when wrongdoing is done.
Well, before I move on back to the nasty world of nightmare of international news we talk about, I want to offer one thing. I'm sorry you didn't get the job, Superintendent Bernier, but if you'd like for me to write a letter of recommendation, I will gladly write a letter and include how you backed out when you was talking about running after the Arza contract, how you've had to call my company and call my staff and apologize because you were wrong about things we were right on. I would gladly write a letter how you threw away tons of brand new Holocaust books without explanation. So if you'd like a letter of recommendation, just let me know where you're applying and I'll make sure I'll send it. So let's get away from that. Ford, we've all seen the controversy in Georgia with Fannie Willis. I'm gonna play a clip, and I want you to expand on this for me.
It is a lie. It is a lie.
In an intense hearing,
Don't be cute with me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
the tables were turned on Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who took the stand for the first time in the same courtroom where she typically prosecutes defendants.
So I would ask you to not yell at me.
With several of the co-defendants in the 2020 election interference case looking on and former President Trump weighing in on social media, Willis defended her personal relationship with Nathan Wade, a special prosecutor on her team.
You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
The hearing was prompted by a complaint from co-defendant Michael Roman. A former Trump official, his attorneys, plus another representing Trump want Willis removed from the case because they say the relationship shows a financial conflict of interest. Willis denied being in a relationship with Wade before he was hired to join the team investigating Trump in November 2021.
And it's highly offensive when they try to implicate that you slept with somebody the first day you met with them, and I take exception to it.
But a former friend and colleague of Willis contradicted that account under questioning.
You have no doubt that their romantic relationship was in effect from 2019 until the last time you spoke with her?
No doubt.
The attorneys allege Willis personally benefited from her involvement with Wade and was paid more than $650,000 by Willis's office as the pair took lavish trips to California, Florida, and the Caribbean. Willis insisted she reimbursed Wade for the trips.
I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion, which is why I would give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
Well, Ford.
This is like a bad episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I mean, this is unbelievable. One day there's going to be a TV movie about the interplay that is going on down in Georgia in Fulton County. Look, this was a motion or a hearing to determine whether or not Fani Willis, the district attorney of Fulton County, should be disqualified and removed from the Trump alleged election interference case. So she, in fact, was on trial. And let me just tell you this. If you know nothing about the law, if you're a district attorney on the witness stand and you're talking about getaways to Aruba with your lover and you're giving shout outs to Grey Goose and you're talking about hoarding piles of cash in your house, I promise you things are not going well. Now, the question is going to be very simple for District Judge Scott McAfee. Did Fani Willis lie about a relationship with special prosecutor Nathan Wade, who she hired to prosecute Trump? And if she did lie or she didn't lie, did she benefit materially from it? Because if so, she's disqualified from this because there's a conflict of interest. This is a very big moment. MSNBC and CNN don't want to talk about it, but essentially if Fani Willis and Nathan Wade are disqualified, then the chances of a trial going forward before the 2024 election in Fulton County, Georgia, are slim and none. There's a lot riding on whether or not she will be disqualified from this trial.
Well, Ford, what is the possible likelihood for Trump ruling in the New York civil case going forward?
This is unbelievable. I mean, look, you got to understand, he is now being forced to fork over somewhere north of $350 million and not operate any business in New York City. Now, understand, this was a case of what is known as civil fraud. The problem in this case is there were no victims. No one lost money. No one was defrauded. And the banks and the insurers who did business with Trump are saying we'd continue to do business with him again. This was a case of Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York State, and a local Manhattan district judge basically putting the fix in, backdooring a law in New York State to try to break Trump financially. This was an abuse of power. It's going to go on appeal, but it's going to take a very, very long time. Trump is either going to win on an appeal or going to have this $350 million significantly modified down. I mean, this is a complete abuse of power beyond election interference.
Well, I just can't believe that more people are not seeing how this is an abuse of power and not standing up and just calling BS on it. And somebody should put a stop to it. And it seems like there would be somebody a little higher up where to say, hey, this looks bad even for the Democrats.
Yeah, let me just say this. I think the key here is going to be what happens, going forward on appeal, okay? Because then there's the appellate division, and then the Court of Appeals in New York State's the highest court, not the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court in New York's the lowest court. Look, I cannot believe that someone's not saying, but what's ironic here is you've got a lot of real estate people and a lot of other businesses in New York City who do not like Donald Trump, and they are scared to the bejesus because they realize that this is a law that just allows the state to do whatever they want whenever they want. So they may not be Donald Trump, but one day they could be Donald Trump. And don't be surprised, Joe, and I know we're getting a little crowded in South Florida, but don't be surprised if a few more Manhattan companies decide to move to Florida because, unfortunately, they're recognizing how dangerous this is.
Well, we don't need no more companies moving to Florida. We've got enough of our own destroying our wetlands and everything else. And I've got a few stories I'm working on with a few bills that's been shut down. I wonder how it's going to affect Greenwell's little property deal out here, but we'll talk about that next week when I've got all the evidence. Ford, I noticed in the ABC poll, and if I read it correctly, 86% think Biden lacks the mental acuity to serve another term as president.
Okay, Joe, do you know how hard it is to get 86% of Americans to agree on anything? It's next to impossible, okay? But let me put this truly in perspective. 86% of Americans think Joe Biden is too old to serve another term. Do you know that that is greater than the 84% of Americans that think the earth is round? This is astounding. More Americans think Joe Biden cannot serve another 4 years as president than actually believe the earth is round. That's how bad it is for Joe Biden. And frankly, that is why Donald Trump, until they cheat again, is essentially going to win the presidency of the United States. Because as long as Donald Trump does not step on his whatever, he is most likely going to win because Joe Biden is now battling inflation, the border, and the fact that no one actually can believe he can serve him. Now, a lot of Republicans will say, well, that's why they're going to switch him out at the convention. I only give a 15% chance of that happening. And here's why, because people don't know the Democrats. They'll wheel out a dead person if it means that they can hold on to power in Washington, D.C. So let me tell you something. They're just going to continue doing what they're doing. It's like the movie Weekend at Bernie's. It's just going to be hiding Biden in the White House and in Delaware and whatever else. The media is going to tell you everything that's wrong with Donald Trump in case you didn't hear it over the last 6 to 8 years.
Well, I heard our absentee voters are Kamala Harris making a comment about we're winning. I mean, is it her, the flatliners and the flat earthers that see it differently than the rest of us? I mean, what are they winning?
Well, let's try this. What's crazy in that ABC poll and in other polls is that 86% of Americans think that Joe Biden's too old to, serve another 4 years as president, but they still tell you Kamala Harris is worse. That is what is so amazing about this. And she had her knives out when this poll came out, because she went out there and said, I'm ready to serve right now if need be. I mean, they've got a fight going on in there. And the problem is the greatest guarantee for Joe Biden that the 25th Amendment, that means that you're incapacitated and can no longer serve as president. I give you Kamala Harris. That is his protection against being removed from office.
Well, I found it interesting, and I just got a little clip. And somebody asked Vladimir Putin who he'd prefer to be president, Biden or Trump in 2024. And personally, as someone in power, I would think I probably would prefer to deal with Biden rather than Trump in order to get my way. Let me play this little small clip here.
Для нас кто лучше, Байден или Трамп?
Байден. Он человек более опытный, он прогнозируемый, он политик старой формации. Но мы будем работать с любым лидером США, которому окажет доверие американский народ. Послушайте, я когда встречался с Байденом в Швейцарии, это было, правда, несколько лет назад, 3 года, и тогда уже говорили о том, что он недееспособный. Ничего подобного я не увидел. Ну да, он подглядывал свою бумажку. Я, честно говоря, подглядывал свою. Ничего такого нет. Ну то, что он где-то, выходя из вертолета, ударился там, головой этот вертолет. Ну, а кто у нас не ударялся где-нибудь головой? Пусть первый бросит в него камень.
What does it say when the Russian leader had preferred us keep an idiot in the office because he knows he's going to gain ground? He
Well,
don't
that's exactly right, Joe. He's actually being honest. Typically Vladimir Putin is a KGB liar who wants to, spread disinformation. I think he was just being honest. And let's understand why. Joe Biden isn't making NATO pay their 2% for their national defense. So Europe is basically naked. Okay. Biden wants to get rid of American oil and gas. Boy, that only benefits Putin because Russia is nothing but a gas station with nuclear weapons when you boil it down. So it's like every day is Putin's birthday when Joe Biden's in charge, not to mention the fact that Joe Biden's constantly asleep at the wheel when he can actually not put two words together. So, and remember, and people need to know this, in the 21st century, Vladimir Putin has invaded countries outside of Russia under every single president but one, Donald Trump. And that is all you need to know. And even Vladimir Putin said, they said, well, what's so tough about Trump? He's unpredictable. And that's the exact point. All these other idiots keep following the same foreign policy that we followed for the last 50 years. And Vladimir Putin's got a playbook to disarm it, and he manages to do it most of the time without anybody even knowing.
Well, I wanted to ask you, I see the Democrats won Santos' seat. How much effect will that have on the Republicans now?
Well, it's going to be a big problem in Congress because that's one less seat. We have a very narrow majority as it is. Now, the media wants to tell you the Democrats have got the game plan. They know how to win these tough swing districts. This is a bellwether for 2024. And I say hooey. And here's why. This was a special election, okay? That means in 6 to 8 weeks, the Republicans got to find someone, and the Democrats had the person who served the district for 6 years prior to George Santos taking over the seat because he went to run against Governor Hochul. Then he had twice as much money. And the person that the Republicans picked was a Ethiopian refugee who served in the Israeli army who no one knew about and didn't really campaign that well. This is not a bellwether. The lesson here is if Republicans wanted to hold on to the Santos seat, they should have never kicked George Santos out of Congress. They should have waited till the term ended, picked somebody else, and given them 6 months to introduce themselves to the constituency of New York, of the New York's 3rd Congressional District. But of course, the Republicans are stupid. They fall down every single time. And I'm not saying George Santos is a good guy. Okay, there's no question that George Santos should not run for re-election. But if anybody could do the dumbest thing possible, I give you the Republican Party. And here's how I know. I've got Bob Menendez, the senator from New Jersey, who's got stolen Egyptian gold bars, selling out America, allegedly, to Egypt, doing political favors from. And how many Democrats have actually forced a vote on his resignation in the United States Senate? 0. That is the point. The Democrats fight to win. And then the Republicans, somehow still having a moral compass, fall for the nonsense every single time and then never get rewarded for being such dumb shits.
It's amazing. Well, we're going to go ahead and head into the
man's trash.
The actual real man's trash. Florida lawmakers push to move the aquatic preserve boundary to benefit one developer. And I'm going to say, from what I understand, that's Phoenix. Senator Jonathan Martin's bill, SB 1210, and its companion, House Bill 957, has outraged a variety of Southwest Florida environmental advocates. This is another the developmental profits, much like the proposed Botana bill, to dredge the Estero Bay and destroy our aquatic preserve. Now, I want you to remember, Estero Bay Aquatic Preserve was the first of 42 aquatic preserves in the world. What do you think on this, Ford?
Does this surprise you? I mean, does it really? I mean, if the allegation is true, this completely benefits developers. Does this surprise you? It makes you wonder if our state legislatures are actually working for the people of Lee County, Southwest Florida, or are they just working for the interests like the developers and the Chamber of Commerce? Because it seems to me that they're working for the developers and the Chamber of Commerce, which is usually the people that are funding pretty much the entire Lee County delegation in Tallahassee.
Well, sources, and I've talked to, like I said, I've got some real close friends that own property that would affect. First off, that would destroy the shrimping industry in Fort Myers Beach. That's gone. If this goes through, there'll be no more trico shrimp, none of that stuff. That'll all be gone. And, you know, while some of the landowners might benefit monetarily, it will destroy one of our greatest natural estuaries in our area.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the real shame. What's happening here is the greenback is overtaking the environment, and particularly in an area where, remember why Southwest Florida thrives. It isn't just because Florida is such a great place because of Governor Ron DeSantis. It thrives because we have natural beauty and a high quality of living, a high environment. It is such a blessing to be able to get up in the morning and look at the Gulf of Mexico. I cannot tell you. And that is what makes Southwest Florida, and particularly parts of Lee County, so special. We have the perfect balance between being able to make a living and being able to enjoy our surroundings. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't seem to understand that. And eventually that beauty is going to be gone, and then everyone's going to leave Southwest Florida.
Well, and yet again, Florida's been named the top most corrupt cities. This is not the first time. And some of the main causes of corruption in Florida are lack of transparency. You know, Florida has been very weak and regarding regulations on transparency and accountability. In the public sector, the state does not have independent ethics commissions and public records laws or whistleblower protection laws. These gaps make it difficult to prevent and expose and penalize corruption. Florida has also lowest state tragedy score, which measures the factors of anti-corruption mechanism in the states, undue influence by lobbying and influential lobby industries, which spend millions of dollars to shape public policy decisions.
Well, what you're saying, Joe, in short, is in Florida, as great as we got it right now, the biggest problem we're facing is it's next to impossible for the general public to differentiate between the good guys and the bad guys. And the reason why we can't differentiate between the good guys and the bad guys is because the bad guys are writing the laws to make everyone else not even aware of it until it's too late. And look, I've been talking about this for a long time. I think you need greater transparency laws. I think you need better ethics when it comes to lobbying. I mean, it's the Wild West up in Tallahassee, okay? And then on top of it, our legislators have got to stop being part-time legislators. They got to be full-time legislators. And I want to be clear. I'm not advocating more government. I'm advocating for a better wall between what I call the regulations, lobbying, legislative complex. You need to be able to have a better dividing line so that the people you send up to Tallahassee can better represent the great state of Florida. And right now, I'm very, very concerned that the legislature is simply at the behest of the lobbyists who are drawing up all the regulations that are eventually shaping Florida away from the will of the people of Floridians and more towards what they want, so that they can turn whatever piece of property or a quick buck they can think of without thinking about the long-term impact to our great state.
Well, for me, you've been screaming about TM strategies and some of the other people involved and getting people placed that where I stand, our vote don't count. I keep saying that, but, you know, even the article we're reading about the public officials create conflict and areas of opportunities for corruption with the lobbyists, They can offer bribes, they can offer favors or donations in exchange for favorable legislation, contracts, permits. I just don't understand why this needs to be transparent. Every voter needs to know what's happening.
Yeah, look, I fully agree with you. That's what I was trying to say. We need to minimize conflicts of interest. We need to minimize corruption. I'm just giving one solution. There are many solutions to it. I don't have all of the answers, but I can tell you this, Joe, and that is the status quo cannot hold, because if the status quo continues, it's going to be the end of our beloved state.
It's just tragic to me. And I've got several Floridians who are looking to more state areas in other states that don't seem to be leaning liberal, like some areas of Georgia. I know the western part of North Carolina is kind of leaning liberal. Some of them are looking more to the East Coast. They're looking to leave Florida because they're tired of what they're seeing here in our local government, and everybody else is trying to get in here.
Yeah, I know that's what's so maddening about it. I would argue that as of today, look, Florida, we love Florida. We're biased towards Florida, but I would say that at least post-pandemic, Florida's been the best state in the nation without question. But I will say we are starting to lose some of that because some of the power brokers, influencers, lobbyists are going back to their old ways, and that's not going to be good. Remember, it's amazing we're doing this well with the corruption that's going on. That said, we've got to stand up and really point out corruption where it happens, because I think, unfortunately, too many people aren't aware of what's going on at the state and local level, because so many people focus on the presidency of the United States, and we do love Donald Trump. And they focus on our congressional members, whether they be Greg Steube, Byron Donalds, Scott Franklin, etc. The problem is they don't focus on the local government. And that is the government that is really influencing their everyday life, from the school boards, to every little regulation that's passed by county commissioners when it comes to developers, et cetera. I mean, you have to pay attention to the local level, because it's the local level that's affecting your everyday life.
Well, I want to talk about the school board. There was a recent protest and a counter protest held at the Lee County School Board. The people that objected to having pornographic materials in the schools and going by the laws that the governor set and teaching the ideology, there was some materials in Riverdale High School that had Black Lives Matter, transgender, LGBTQ, several things basically that most conservatives gear toward grooming your children. Whatever movement they tried to be expressed on a banner or flag put up in Riverdale had most of all these things on it. I was in attendance at the protest, and I was approached by several people who had a lot of things to say that weren't very polite. However, I tried to remain calm, and I expressed to the people on the conservative side that we did not need to act like these people. We need to not be yelling F words like they were yelling at us and sticking middle fingers up at each other and things that they were doing in front of children. And we were there for the children to receive an education, not an indoctrination. And one of the things that bothered me was a group out of Naples that is called Gilsen, Gilsen, I believe. They bust people in to protest against the people of Lee County. I mean, like I said, the people on the conservative side that's against this were Lee County residents and had children. It was an absolute mob scene on the other side. Most of the people, and I hate to say it, most of them were like postmenopausal women that don't even have children in the school district. Everybody else is on this other side. They are actually trying to raise their children their way. And I was very taken aback. I had one guy approach me, come right to me, and look, my daughter has went to me with several protests. Nobody's ever approached my daughter, nothing like that. She's 5 years old. I had one guy come up to me of my daughter and start trying to talk to me about the LGBTQ thing. And luckily, and I want to give the RSO officer all the credit in the world that was standing there, because he knew who I was and he removed the guy promptly before it became something that it should not have been. You know, the thing that really got me is I attended the school board meeting right afterwards. I was removed from the school board meeting, and the reason was I had commented about what I felt was the purple poison people who for all the moral decay of our students, and most of these people do not have children in the district. I've got a clip of that, and you'll see them removing me. Luckily, I'll give credit to Chief Newland. He told the deputy not to put their hands on me, but let's see. My name is Smoking Joe. The very protest that happened outside is proof of the false accusation Sam Fisher made to Cape Coral REC that parents are not expressing concern. I would like to leave you with one final thought. One would believe, but not most of y'all, have endorsed Armored Person's son-in-law, who has been cited for dumping hazardous waste in the Estero waterway. Unlike the Love Canal in Niagara Falls, we don't have an Aaron Brockovich. And Mullica only received a $2,000 fine. Do you still believe these establishment cronies have your best interest? As for the purple poison people who stand on the basis of moral decay, I will never say, not today.
Sir. We're not going to use derogatory terms against a group of people.
Hey, please remove him.
Thank you.
Please remove him. We're going to take an immediate
First warning.
Now, they can first warn me all day long, and I know there's new threats about arresting me. Look, I'll gladly wear those silver bracelets when it comes to my child. And, you know, they didn't say nothing about me calling them cronies. They didn't say me pointing out the fact that Armour's son-in-law was putting toxic waste into the Estero waterway. They didn't have nothing to say about that. But when I said purple poison people, I didn't say nothing against the blacks, Asians, Jews, nobody. I said something about a group that is out here trying to put pornography, and I believe they violated my First Amendment rights by trying to remove me for that.
Well, let's put it this way. It's quite clear that you're going to have to start reading up on the rules, because they're going to start throwing the rule book at you no matter what. Start looking at it like you're Trump. They're going to find every way possible to thwart you, because obviously you're getting underneath their craw. All I would say is forget what the rights are. Just know their rules better than they do, and you'll be okay.
Well, and you know, that was on a Tuesday. The very next day on Wednesday, I attended the Cape Coral City Council meeting where I exposed the criminal history of Mayor John Wilbur Gunter III. I don't know why this information was not exposed to the public prior to his election. The man is a very violent person. I had all the documentation. He had done everything he could to shut me down, have me removed. And so, you know, it's been quite a controversial week. Like I told you, I mean, I've put this in the record. I've got even the police's written statement. The man tried to run over a woman's husband with an Oldsmobile while the woman's husband was on a bicycle. I mean, the guy simply was unhinged. And I'm going to show you, they removed me from that meeting too. So let me give you that little clip. My time starts. Could you stop my time? And I give this to the city's attorney so he knows everything I'm saying is the truth.
You can give it to the city clerk.
City clerk, please. And please start my time over, please. Thomas Jefferson said honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. C.S. Lewis said integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. I'm going to request that Chief Sizemore remember his sworn oath to the Constitution and doesn't allow my First Amendment right to free speech infringed upon, and not allow a mayor who has appointed himself a dictator to cause him to violate his oath of office.
Sir, you have to address this as a collective body, not as an individual.
While TM's strategy is consistent on vetting candidates whom they oppose, it seems they spend very little effort vetting those who do not do their bidding. All right. How well was Mayor Gunther vetted? TM's strategies and the establishment politicians who endorsed him. With very little effort from my staff, we uncovered the real character of John Wilbur Gunther III. Not only is he dishonest...
Sir, how many times do I have to tell you? You address us as a
I'm
council.
addressing you. I'm addressing this board.
But you cannot do that. You can address city council as a collective body.
You don't
not
want
as
the
an
truth to come out.
Sir, address the city council as a...
Give me my time back. You've stopped me several times. Apparently, he is not fond of sectional couches because he threw one through a bay window. At the same house,
Sir,
he destroyed...
As a collective body. I'm not going to tell you again.
Mayor Gunther, you don't want your criminal record out. You was accused. You have been accused of not only.
Sir, I'm not going to argue
it's all
with
here.
you.
It'll go to
I'm
the
not gonna argue
media.
with you. As a collective body.
As a collective, then take my time back because you stopped me everything.
As a collective body, you address this council.
As a collective body, Mayor John Gunther must have.
As a collective body.
You were accused of kidnapping. You were accused of trying to run over a woman's husband with a bicycle. All these things I have proof from Arundel County, Maryland.
As a collective body.
How did you become a mayor and do this? How are you a mayor? I have your entire background.
People in the city of Cape Coral voted for me, and I don't think you're even a resident of Cape Coral. But
I'm an advocate for Florida, and I grew up here. I grew up in this city my whole life.
Please. Turn. I had no problem discussing that. Your time is up, sir. Since you can't follow the rules. You have a right to follow the rules, and you're not doing that. No, sir. Your time is up.
So, I've exposed several things on John Wilbur Gunther III. His excessive spending on his dry cleaning bills, where even after the stipend, which we were told that stipend was to offset those bills, they were paid that stipend retroactive to October 1st. Well, he received almost $1,000 in dry cleaning bills on October 23rd. And one of the things that really puzzled me is I've seen some of the people that approved these bills. One of them was Councilmember Hayden. I mean, that seems a little strange that they're approving each other's expenditures. Then look, okay, so then the citizens are paying for many different things, but then the governor showed up to speak about retail theft. Those thefts that the governor was talking about were on the average $50 or more, or $50 or less. Excuse me. They were on the average of $50 or less. I have to say, about anything was going on in the Cape Coral General the very next day at the Cal meeting. After he told me I had to address the committee as a whole, Mayor John Gunther berated in public from the dais on camera Councilmember Bobby Wells for his attire. And I think that maybe Gunther's priorities are a little skewed. Maybe, I don't know what you think, but the way he comes after the people more so than Bobby Welch wearing shorts or polo shirts, I just don't understand it. There's a double standard that applies for him. If I can't address him, why can he address the other? I had to address the council as a whole. He should address the council as a whole. And I want to say one thing. I don't know much about this new council member, Carr, but I have a lot of respect for him because he pointed out to Mayor Gunther, shouldn't there be more appropriate place to address Mr. Councilmember Welch about this? It blows my mind. I have managed a lot of people. I mean, you know, and I've worked in the farming industry. I've had to talk to men about not wearing enough deodorant or, you know, things like that. I would never, ever do it in front of their peers.
Yeah, look, I think that the whole exchange is, you know, with Gunther is hypocrisy. I mean, it's rules for thee, but not for me. The other thing is, why do you have to address him? Why can't you address him separately since his stipend is what, twice as big? I mean, come on. Let's be honest here. I mean, in a lot of ways, he is the mayor. So, I mean, I get the idea that you have to address the collective. But again, this is one of these things that if you're going to keep bringing this up, you're going to have to really look at those rules closely and try to, you know, sort of beat him at his own game if you're going to make the case that he's not fit to be the mayor of Cape Coral.